Hey guys, Machines and Mel here. Just wanted to show you this neat old lawn roller we got here. It's like a mini gas-powered steamroller. It, I assume would be used for compacting freshly laid sod. It has a small Briggs & Stratton 3 horsepower single cylinder engine. It's a 4-stroke, and this one has the gear reduction case on the side of it, so that'll be filled with a gear oil, and it'll reduce the RPM of the engine to the required RPM of the device. It's kind of neat. Never seen one of these before. In all my years of small engines, this is the first one. It's actually OMC Lincoln brand. OMC would be Outboard Motor Company, as you know, and from Lincoln, Nebraska. So I guess these guys made these lawn rollers for a little while. This one needs some work. The chains are kind of buggered. The tensioner is not working right, and the chain on this side constantly falls off. So we're gonna fix that right now, and hopefully the tank's not rusted out and the carburetor flows. We'll be able to get this baby running. So we posted this on Craigslist just for fun about a month ago, and I've got about 3 or 4 people that are hounding me to buy it. So we're gonna finally get to fixing her up today, and hopefully it goes to its new home sometime this week. So we'll turn the camera back on here shortly when we get into this thing. We're just gonna try to secure it on this bench because it probably weighs close to 200 pounds, and we don't want it to drop onto anybody's toes today. Hey guys, so we're just working on this lawn roller, and we found that there's an awful lot of play in between the frame section and the sprocket section down in between there. I'm just going to rock this back and forth. You can see that. And what happens is when you're rolling this thing around, the chain gets off centered and it falls off of the gear and it jams up constantly. So what we figured we need to do is actually squeeze the outside portions of this frame, so this outside portion and this outside portion together, to eliminate that gap. And when that gap's eliminated, I think we can tension the chain and it'll keep it from falling off. So we're just coming up with a method right now to clamp this whole baby together, and then we're going to try and make a bar or a rod and weld it in between the 2 side pieces to hold this thing centered. Because if you imagine when you're looking at it, there's nothing really holding the bottom of this unit together. It's held at the top by this big pipe that runs across, but there's nothing down at the bottom holding the bottom of these braces together. There's some spots where hardware used to be. So we're going to come up with a clamp right now to clamp this up, and perhaps we should probably see if we can get the engine running before we spend all this time on it. So let's just keep working. Alright guys, so we're just sucking out the oil with our handy dandy oil sucker contraption that we built here using a old refrigerant recovery motor and Hella oil extractor. If you want, we can make a video about that in the future. But basically this sucks fuel, this sucks oil, this sucks whatever you want. Let's keep it tasteful, YouTube. And then this is the fuel tank of our 3 horsepower motor. We pulled the cap off, and if you look inside, it's actually not really that rusty. It had some rotten fuel in it, but the hole's right there. But we sucked it out, and it's actually pretty clean. If I had a flashlight, I'd show you. So we have high hopes for this. It probably needs a carburetor diaphragm, as they all do. Anyway, so what we're going to do with regards to squeezing the bottom of this machine together, I've measured that in between this plate and the plate on the other side, we've got about 19.5 inches of gap, and the amount of gap that we need to take away on the other side of that roller is about 3/8 of an inch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this metal bar that you see here. Pardon the disaster of the bench. We've been very busy. I'm going to cut this bar to 19 inches wide, and then I'm going to weld a nut into each end of it. And I'm going to try to sandwich this bar in between the two sides of that machine and tighten the sides into it. So I've got my zip cut. That's the 19-inch mark right there. So basically what I'm going to do is just clean up this end with a bench grinder. I'm going to clean up this end with a bench grinder. And then we're going to actually take a couple of nuts and weld them in there to see if we can tighten this bar in between that machine, causing the two sides to come together. Alright guys, so we got our spacer pipe cut to just under 19 inches long, about 18 and a half. And I've got these two nut and bolt sets. And what I'm going to do is weld the nut into the end of the pipe like that. Just expose it about 3/16. I'm going to weld it in there, and then we should have a spacer bar that we can tighten from the outside with these bolts to pull the outsides of that machine together we're working on. So yeah, we're going to do a quick weld. As you all know, as you can see, that's galvanized. It's the only nuts that I had. Don't breathe in the green smoke when you weld galvanized. It's not good for you. So this is a crappy welder. It's flux core. I don't have any gas here, but we're gonna see if we can make this work without burning up all the material that we've got. This may work. This may not work. We'll know pretty quick here. So the welder's a little bit hot. I'm just going to turn it down one. We don't burn up all of our workable material here. Yeah, you can see what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to weld this up and grind it, and then we're going to kick back to trying to install this in our machine. Alright guys, so you can see we've got our nuts welded into the end of the pipe. They're not pretty, but for what we got to work with today, it's going to work out. So the theory behind this, these are hot, I don't want to burn myself. The theory behind this is we're going to turn these bolts into those nuts, this being in between the two plates on that machine, pulling them together. We're going to have to drill this hole just a little bit bigger so that the bolt will fit through, and then hopefully this sucks up the gap on the other side, making the chain stay on. We'll set up this tension properly, get this motor running, and hopefully go roll some sod. Alright, so we're gonna, before we go through the trouble of drilling these holes out, let's just make sure that this engine runs. So we're gonna put some $1.75 a liter gas in here right now. Yep, our gas this weekend was $1.75 a liter. Insane. And that's for regular, guys. It's like $2 a liter for premium. So don't drive a supercharged car, I'll tell you that. Alright, now we're gonna throw some 10W30 motor oil into this baby. I think they use about a half liter, maybe 600 milliliters or so of oil. And then we'll throw some primes down the intake, and we'll see if this thing makes any noise. topped up to the threads, like Briggs & Stratton says. So now, what we'll do to speed things up is we're just going to pull the air filter off. Oh, there goes the cover. And then what we're going to do, just for fun, is we're going to squirt some mixed fuel down the carburetor, down the carburetor hole, and see if this baby makes any noise. So there's a little prime. That's just some 50-to-1 gasoline oil mix I use to test fire everything. So we'll switch her to the on position, the choke position. Oh, we got a pop. That's a good sign. Probably need to do that a few times to get the fuel pump to suck up the fresh fuel we put in the tank just now. She runs like a champion. I'm actually impressed. That thing runs. Alright, so we're just going to get ourselves arranged and cut back to drilling some holes here. Alright guys, so we started drilling the hole and the battery has to charge over there. So what we're going to do is set this chain tensioner up. So in behind here, there's a sprocket on that bolt right there that I believe is in the wrong place. I think it should be on top of that chain, not below it. And then hopefully there's enough tension in that slide to take up all of this. So we're going to loosen off this bolt, this nut, and we're going to try to flip the chain over to the underside of this pulley, sprocket, whatever you might want to call it. It's right there. So we got our nut off there, and we've got our sprocket on top of the chain now, and you can still see that even at the lowest, most adjusted point, we've still got all this slack. So what that means is we're going to have to shorten this chain a little bit. So we're going to pop it off, take a couple links out, and see if we can make this work out. So we've found our master link and removed it, and we've skipped one chain link around, and it seems if we remove one link, that'll be enough to bring the tension up to where the tensioner will be able to do its job. So I'm going to take this handy dandy zip cut real quick, and rather than take this apart and try and droop the chain through the gears, I'm just going to zip cut the rivet off the chain. We're going to press it out with a pair of pliers. Take our little tool here, we should be able to just twist this chain link off. Right, so we took out one link. We had to kind of grind it up and destroy it a little bit, but there it is all over the floor. And we rejoined with the master link, the two pieces of chain, and it actually took care of pretty much all the tensioning. And it's put our tensioner in a really nice spot. It's actually still got a little bit of room below it for some tension. So we're not going to push our luck today. It's getting late, and we want to get rid of this thing. We want to send it to its new home. So what we're going to do is just tighten this tensioner up, and hopefully we can go ahead with making our bar to clamp the two sides of this machine together. Now that we know it runs, and now that we have a reasonably tight chain on the other side, I think next we're going to drill these two holes. Our battery drill's been charging, and then we're going to attempt to install our home fabricated spreader bar, which should hopefully squeeze this machine together. Keep watching. So we got our drill, we got our bolt, and what we're going to do is we're going to open up that hole so that we can pass that bolt through. Oh, we don't want hammer drill setting. Alright, so now our bolt will fit through, and I've gone and actually done the same thing on the other side. Drilled a hole right there, and those holes fit our bolts like that. So what we're going to do is drop this in between the machine, and we're going to see if my calculations were correct. If this pulls these plates together enough to get rid of the gap between the roller and the other side. If you look down in between there, you can see that our gap between the plate and the end of the pipe is just about the same thickness as the gap between the end of the sprocket and the frame. So I'm hoping that this pulls this thing together enough to make this work. Let's grab my other bolt. Pass that through there. I can already feel it's pulling together. If it's not short enough in between there, all we need to really do is grind a little bit of the head of the nut off, and we'll have hopefully enough pull to where it pulls this baby together. So that one's tight. Now we come over to this side, tighten this one down, and you can see it's taken about half of the gap we were looking to get rid of away, which is an improvement, but I don't think it's enough. So I'm going to pop this bar out one more time and grind about 3/16 of an inch or so off the end of it, off the two nuts, and we're going to try this one more time. Okay guys, so we installed our bar down at the bottom there, the shiny new bar to clamp the bottom half of the machine together, and we threw a couple lock nuts under the bolt heads, and we just moved our tensioner, this tensioner here, we just moved it around a bit so that we have a little more tension on the chain, and you can actually see the distance we needed to bring this thing together. That this was flush with the edge of the machine when we started, so now it's sucked and pulled in up against the bushing, and no longer does this roller wobble back and forth. So we never tried this yet. This will be our first test. We know the engine runs. Hopefully it starts up again, and let's see what happens. It's got a throttle right here, and then this is the engage. Look at that! It it works. Oh, someone's gonna love this. And it stops, and it goes again. Well, and that's that. Off to Craigslist it goes. Thanks for watching.